often. But Ben Bolch, LA Times, joins us now. And Ben, your tweets were simultaneously informing me and cracking me up through shared experience, having to do it at Baylor before. And I said in the last segment, these are really smart people that are really successful, but have been thrown into a lane that they are completely unfamiliar with and are now charged with giving answers to people who can't do anything about it. So your estimation on that UC Regents meeting yesterday about really what was it all about?
Well, yeah, before I get to that, it's ironic what you said about not knowing, what the topic at hand was. And that's the whole point of delegation of authority, right? Mm-hmm. Because you delegate the authority to the people who are the experts in that department. And that's the reason, going back to 99-1, that they allowed chancellors like UCLA's Gene Block to make these kinds of decisions with athletics. But, just kind of big picture-wise, I'll be honest, I think it's a lot of hot air and a lot of hand-wringing that's ultimately going to be amounting to nothing, right? I think they felt like they were not part of this discussion. They were out of the loop, but now I think it's a little bit of a, hey, we want to show that we have power, and we're going to puff out our chests and make a lot of threats and things and problems that we're going to, make you think that we might try to do. But I think ultimately, and I outlined some things in a news story I posted this morning, some reasons why they wouldn't do anything. And I think they're really ultimately just going to stand down, and UCLA is going to make this move to the Big Ten.
This what jumped out at me, Ben. I read the report from the meeting, and this is about UCLA. It's not about USC. They don't have power over USC. USC can make their own decisions, and USC, they said in their estimation, devalues the league by 30%. But as far as the University of California's, responsibility in this and UCLA's part, they're only costing them $3 million. So after all that makes it seem like they're having a meeting about the wrong person, because they can't have a meeting about the person who really did this.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. Because, USC obviously is a private school, not part of the UC system, but their departure has a huge impact on the Pac-12. So your point is exactly right. And I'll add something that, was not mentioned is the fact that, UCLA going to the Big Ten, in my estimation, is a net positive for the UC system, simply because it's such a big plus for UCLA in terms of finances, prestige, securing the future of an athletic department that was facing potentially having to cut some Olympic sports had it stayed the Pac-12. So, yes, Cal will take a little bit of a financial hit, but, big picture-wise, you basically have UCLA in just a much, much better spot. And I think that should be the big takeaway here.
Ben, I do not care about politics in the slightest, really, but I know Gavin Newsom kind of got this ball rolling, only to not appear. Was that much of a surprise?
Yeah, I didn't know really one way or the other whether to expect him to be there, but I think, the takeaway from a lot of observers and people following this was like, hey, if you're going to make a big stink about this, you need to follow through and show that you're committed to your cause. And by him not being there yesterday, it was a little bit of like, yeah, he wants to make a fuss, but it was just kind of a one-off, and now he's moved on to other things. So I think that if he really was invested in this and wanted to see it through, he would have been there.
One suggestion that a regent made, which is kind of made me laugh out loud, was suggesting that they just drop down to Division III. How many of those things were kind of thrown out there to kind of throw things at the wall that muddied this water a little bit?
Well, it just goes back to the point of people in the discussion where they're just not informed with what's going on, right? One of the regents was asking, well, why can't Cal just join the Big Ten, as if that was just their beck and call to do whatever they wanted. I think for people who are knowledgeable about college athletics and what the landscape is, it was a little bit of you had to stifle some chuckles listening to some of that commentary there. But I don't think it took away, it just added some unnecessary asides, but I think it didn't really detract from the heart of the matter.
Ben, your thoughts on the TV deal that was announced today, and what that means for USC and UCLA?
Yeah, I mean it's great for both schools, and I think the timing's a little bit unfortunate for UCLA because if that deal had been announced a day earlier, or even before that, then maybe the tenor of that meeting yesterday might have changed, and it would have been even more obvious how important of a move this is for UCLA to secure the future of its athletic department. Because some of the numbers out there, they're going to double or triple their yearly media rights income versus had they stayed in the Pac-12.
How did they get in their debt situation in the first place?
Oh man, you have like a half hour. They have some really dumb structural deals in place. Like for instance, I'll just give you a couple. They have to pay rent to use their own basketball arena, Poly Pavilion. They don't own it. They have to pay the people who staff the parking lots, but they don't get the revenue. Just mind-boggling things like that they've agreed to, and the question is, why did they agree to these, and who was behind that? That's like a story that needs to be told. I haven't gotten to the bottom of that, but and then obviously there's COVID. They had buyouts they had to pay for Jim Mora and Steve Alford, and they have some debt service on some new buildings. And then Under Armour, let's remember they pulled out of their record $280 million apparel deal with UCLA. So you add all those things together, and I'm sure I'm missing a few things, but it just was a perfect storm of debt making for a department that had operated in the black for most of the last 2 decades.
So, Ben, just kind of in closing here, obviously the Pac-12 is going to have to get their ducks in a row, no pun intended, and kind of figure out what they're going to do and what TV networks are going to see the appeal in. But what's sort of the next step as far as after this meeting, in terms of UCLA? Is there anything to look forward to, or are they pretty much just coasting their way to the Big Ten at this point?
Well, I think they just need to put on some earplugs and just forge ahead, right? Because there's probably going to be some more noise headed their way. But, I think that they have the authority to do what they did, and they've set themselves on a good course. So they just need to stick with it and ride this out.
How much did your jaw drop when you first saw this story reported? Not so much even either the USC or the UCLA part, but I think everybody was caught most off guard by the Bruins.
Oh, just the move in the first place?
Yeah, like how much did your just jaw drop when you first saw that?
I was on vacation, and I was like, are you serious? I was one like everybody else. I had no indication this was coming. It was a total shock.
Yeah. Interesting times, man. Interesting times.
Yeah. Well, Ben, thanks so much for joining us. And again, I hope that your next Regents meeting is a long, long time from now.
Actually, there's one next month in San Diego, so I have that to look forward to.
Well, at least you'll be in San Diego.
Yeah.
The right side. Thanks, Ben. It's Ben,
Thanks, guys.
Ben Bolch, LA Times, with us here on Sick'em 365 Radio.